What is up, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Ball after a ferocious week at Aston Villa of signings galore and movement everywhere from the top to the bottom of the club. We are back with the final the third part of the three-part chopping block series today, looking at the attackers that Aston Villa have, with rumours circling around that I'm going to get into right after I read out a comment from the midfielder video. This is from the Duffed Meister. Agreed on Carney, seems disinterested. Our outside view may be wrong, we never know what's going on, which is a good point. But for me, he just needs to get his head down, stop believing in your own hype, train hard and prove yourself. Maybe his eye has been turned by the success of Sancho and Bellingham in Germany. If you're good enough, Steven Gerrard will play you. If you ain't getting into Villa's first team, you probably ain't getting into Barcelona's, to be honest. Duffmeister, absolutely agree. I've seen you comment on a lot of my videos, and your comments are always bang on, exactly the type of comments and discussions that I like to have with you guys. I totally agree with pretty much everything he said in that, to be honest. If you're not getting in Villa's team and you're putting a bum performance in against Burnley, you ain't playing for Barcelona in El Clasico. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's by the by, guys. Today we are looking at the attackers that Aston Villa have to our disposal. Obviously, there's been various rumours linking us with the likes of Luis Suarez on a 2-year deal until 2024. There's been rumours circulating that Ings is going to go to Brighton. There's a lot of movement, and obviously Deadwood has been a good topic to talk about. It's been on Twitter, it's been in the news that we are looking to move on Deadwood and bring in players of a higher standard. And we also have a lot of attackers out on loan, which I want to get into as well. I think it's seven attackers out on loan, which we're going to cover in this video. There's only actually 4 out and out like attackers at the club right now, and we'll get into all of those. But without further ado, guys, the support on the channel has been absolutely fantastic. We're closing in to 1,000 subscribers. Leave a like, comment, subscribe with notifications on to never miss a video. Let's get into it. So first up, and you're going to notice the theme in this video, is Bertrand Traore, contracted to 2024, played 9 games, was injured quite a lot for us this season. I've put him down as dubious, and you're going to notice a theme that a lot of our attackers have actually been put down as dubious or chopping block. I think it's something that we need to overhaul. If you look at Aston Villa in a whole last season, you know, yes, our defence could have been better, but how many games did we dominate teams and have all the chances, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net? And that is unfortunately down to the attackers. Now, Traore's one, when we brought him in, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, fair enough, didn't expect that. He had a decent season on his first season, but last season he's just like a shell of himself. Now, he is an out-and-out winger, which is something that we're lacking at the club at the moment, which might be something that will make Steven Gerrard keep him at the club for a little bit longer and give him a chance next season. But I wouldn't be surprised if a big came in for him. He's got 2 years left in his contract, that we might move him on. We've been linked with wingers. I think it could be the end for him. But again, I wouldn't mind it if he got another chance, because he did get 7 goals and 7 assists in his first season, which isn't a bad return. Next up, the only other winger that we have, out-and-out winger at the club, I know you could argue Buendia and Coutinho, but they can also play attacking mid. The other out-and-out winger, and he also can play as a striker that we have at the club, is Leon Bailey. My goodness, when we signed him and when he had that 10-minute cameo against Everton, who else thought that we'd just signed like the second coming of like Ronaldo or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, he was amazing in that game against Everton. The hype around him when we signed him, oh my goodness. And then it turns out that his legs are made out of glass. You know, injuries has plagued Bailey's season. He's looked slow since he's come back from injury, which his main thing is the fact that he could probably outrun Usain Bolt. Do you know what I mean? I've still put him down as safe. He's contracted to 2025, so he's got 3 years left on his deal. He did play 18 games. I think he only got that 1 goal against Everton, though. Something he definitely needs to work on. But, you know, you've seen flashes of what he can do. You can see what he can do at Leverkusen. I don't think that Steven Gerrard's just going to out and out axe him from the squad after only 1 season, which has been plagued by injury. I think if he can get a full pre-season and stay fit next season, he could be the player that we all thought he might be. He's still young. I've put him down as safe. I expect to see him get a role next season, and I'm hoping he can kick on and actually become the player that we all thought he could be when he signed for the club, because it was at fever pitch when he signed. Next up, and again, a player that a few people might put down as untouchable, but I've only put down as safe, is Ollie Watkins. Played 35 games in the Premier League this season, I think, getting 11 goals and only 1 assist. The game against Man City, for me, epitomised why I think we need to get a better number 9 than Ollie Watkins. He missed about 4 or 5 chances that you just cannot do. If Steven Gerrard is you know, thinking in his head, yep, we're going to be pushing top 10, top 8, even, you know, if we get a few more signings, why can't we push for the top 6, 7 spots? I don't think Watkins is a top 6 striker. He misses so many chances that other strikers would just bury. You know, I've seen people on Twitter saying, you know, give him a whole summer under Steven Gerrard to work on his finishing. The guy's 26. Do you know what I mean? He's had probably 10 years of professional football to work on his finishing. Look, I like him. I think he's a good player. But again, if we signed a couple of out-and-out number 9s, could you move Watkins on to get a bit of money? He's young, he's English, so English tax, you're going to get more money for him. Look, I hope he kicks on and that, but I just don't see him being a number 9 for Villa going forward. That's why I haven't put him as. I think he'll still be here next season. I think he still has a role to play, and I hope he really does kick on and get 15, 20 goals next year. But be honest with yourself, can you see Watkins being a 15, 20 goal striker? Yeah. Next up, an actual number 9, Danny Ings. Now, I've put him down as dubious, and that is for one of 3 things. It's threefold. Let me get into it. Number 1, if we do sign Steven Gerrard and Ings, sorry, not Steven Gerrard. If we do sign Luis Suarez, he's clearly a Gerrard man, and he will probably be a better number, like an all-and-out. Ings is an out-and-out finisher. He's a number 9 finisher. Suarez is pretty much the same player. Yes, Suarez is 6 years older. But, you know, will that impact Ings? He's already sort of a bench player for Villa since Stevie G's come in. Secondly, well, number 2 and 3 come kind of together. We've been heavily linked with Basuma from Brighton in January, and again, this summer, it still looks like we're going to go for him. And there's a new one coming around that Brighton are interested in Ings. Could we use Ings as a Part X for Basuma? I think it could be possible. If we get Suarez and even possibly another sort of like striker into the club, or we promote Cameron Archer, who we'll come on to later, do we need 3? Probably not. And I think if the Part X is available for Basuma, I think we actually will use Ings for it, and I wish him all the best. Just didn't really work out for him at Villa. So now we get into our plethora of loaned attackers, starting with Trezor Gay, playing out in the Turkish league, got 6 goals in 13 games, contracted to 2023, so a year left on his contract, only played 1 game in the Premier League for us. He's going, there's no doubt about it. Chopping block 100%, unequivocally will not be here when the squad comes back from their holidays. I'm pretty sure it's Transport he plays for. I might be butchering that name, or it might be even a different club. I can't remember exactly. But the club that he plays for have effectively already come out and said that they're going to be putting in a bid for him as soon as they've sorted out they're having like issues with their sporting director, and then they're going to be buying him from us and making his move permanent in the summer. Again, another player that showed promise but isn't really top 10 Premier League level. Wish him all the best. He's back in Turkey doing his thing. Yeah, not much else to say about him. He won't be here when the players come back from holidays. Another winger who is out on loan, Umar El Ghazi, chopping block, contracted to 2023, played 11 games for us this season. You know, for what he done for this club in that playoff final, I'm forever grateful. But he's just not a Premier League, definitely not a top 10 Premier League player. I mean, he's gone on loan to Everton, and I think most of their fans even forgot they had him. You know, dribbling not good enough, striking not good enough, pace not good enough, passing not good enough. You know, he's been a great servant for the club, and he was fantastic for us in the Championship and our first season up in the Premier League, just getting us stable. But not a player that you want to be knocking around your club if you're pushing for Europe again. And that's what it's going to come down to with our attackers this summer. They need to be good enough to be pushing for Europe, because that is the ultimate goal. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. You know, the reality is we finished 14th in the Premier League, and having some of these squad players around is good. But El Ghazi, for me, is one that has to be moved on to a different club as soon as possible. Next up, Wesley, contracted to 2024, played 1 game for us in the Premier League this season, and he, again, for me, is someone else who's on the chopping block. You know, signed him for big bucks from Club Bruges. We all thought he'd be the second coming of Benteke, signing a big physical attacker from the Belgian league, but it just didn't work out for him. That horror injury against Burnley done him absolutely no favours, and that still plays on my mind. It was such a shocking challenge. I think it was Ben Mee, wasn't it? I just can't believe that he was allowed to get away with it, to be honest. He didn't even get sent off, did he? But, you know, he's been out on loan back in Brazil this season, and he hasn't really made a dent for them. I think he's barely played 15 games when he's been out on loan in the Brazilian league, which, let's not get it twisted, the Brazilian league is not the class that the Premier League is. He's 25 now. I'm hoping we can get him a move back to Brazil where he can just live in his home country and enjoy his football again, because it just looked like he fell out of love with football at Villa. He shouldn't be here next season, no doubt in my mind. Next up, we get to our youth crop with Keenan Davis, contracted to 2024. Played one game for us this season in the Premier League, been on loan to Nottingham Forest, where he has helped them get into the playoff final, which is in a couple of days. It should be on the day that this video is released, and I wish him all the best. Some people might think chopping block, he's 24, 25, hasn't really shown that he can do it in the Premier League. Mate, I just have such a soft spot for Keenan Davis and think he's such a baller. I've put him as dubious. I still think, if not, especially if Nottingham Forest get promoted, I hope he goes to them on a permanent, because he seems to be enjoying his football there. I wish this guy nothing but the best. It just hasn't really worked out for him with Villa, but he is such a good player. Yes, he doesn't score goals, which you think, shouldn't a striker score goals? But look at Emil Heskey. Everyone thinks he's a meme, Emil Heskey, but he wasn't really a goal scorer, but he was still got over 50 caps for England. Do you know what I mean? He's that type of player. Everything he does on the ball, so good. He has been getting a few more goals down in the Championship. I think he got 5 goals for Nottingham Forest, and their fans absolutely love and rave about him. And that's the only reason that I think if we do sign a couple of number 9s, I'd be more than happy to see him go to Nottingham Forest on a permanent, because he just deserves to be a cult hero somewhere, because he's just such a good player. But again, if we kept him at the club and he was like our second, third choice striker, I wouldn't be mad at that either. Next up, we have another young striker that we have out on loan, Cameron Archer, our cup hero this season, despite how early we went out in both cups. I've put him as safe, obviously. He's contracted to 2025, played 3 games for us, went on loan to Preston, where he scored 7 goals in 20. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Look at the goals he scored, especially the header against Chelsea. Oh my God, what a goal that was. Still young, 21 years old. Again, I think if we do move like an Ings on, and we have maybe Watkins and Suarez, who's the third striker behind them? Probably for me, Cameron Archer over Keenan Davis, just purely due to his age and his ability at the age that he is. I think he could be a good player going forward, and I hope that he stays and gets a bit more first team action for us next season and develops as a player, because I think, again, he could be very, very good. Next up, we have Jaden Filigen. I put him as safe, contracted to 2024. He only played 1 game for us before going out on loan to Stoke, where he got 1 goal in 11 appearances. I think his season was hampered by injury down at Stoke. So take those stats with a pinch of salt. And it is obviously Stoke, who aren't probably the most attacking team in the world. I might be wrong. I haven't really watched them. But their fans seem to love him. Look, this guy, he's 18, 19 years old. He was being talked about in the same air as Carney Chukwuemeka, who apparently is Barcelona-esque at the moment, if we go by the last video. Clearly got talent, a talented young winger. Again, if we get rid of El Ghazi, Trezor Gay, that's 2 wingers down. Do you just promote him to the first team and start giving him minutes off the bench? Very, very possible. We've tied him down to a longer deal because we're that excited about him as a player. He apparently he's bedazzled the youth coaches at Villa and other teams that he's been at. He's clearly got talent about him. I think he's definitely safe. Possibly going to be loaned out again, maybe for only the first half of next season. But I really hope that he can kick on now. Next up, and this is going to be a bit of an odd one, it's Louis Barry, our last player on the list. For me, safe. Only contracted to 2023, so I don't know if we're going to tie him down to a bit of a longer deal. Didn't play any games in the Premier League for us this season. Look, I put him down as safe. I don't think he'll be at the club next season. I think we're going to send him out on loan again. The difference between Barry and Davis, Archer and Filigen is the other 3 have been on loan to Championship clubs, and they've been doing it for Championship clubs. Louis Barry had a great run towards the end of the season, but that was down in League 2. Got his team into the playoffs, scored some crucial goals for them, looked like the player that we thought he could be when he scored that goal against Liverpool, and the fact that we signed him from Barcelona. But do you take a young striker / forward who has struggled to get 1 goal every 2 games in League 2 and chuck him into the first team setup? Probably not. I think he needs another year on loan, a full season on loan down at a Championship club where he can really hone his craft in and get 30 plus games under his belt in the Championship, and then I think he could come back to Villa and be an impactful player going forward next season, especially if there is Europe. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but if there is Europe, a player who can fill in as well. And that will be my video, guys. I think attackers, for me, is an area, like I said at the start of the video, that we struggled with last season. We need to be more clinical. There's been loads of rumours flying around of attackers coming in, the big one being Luis Suarez, obviously, who is, you know, probably one of the best number 9s over the past 15 years, 10, 15 years anyway. I'm talking out-and-out number 9s. You know, you look at what he's done in his career with Liverpool, with Barca, with Atletico Madrid, guiding them to a title as well. You know, obviously the wages are going to be an issue. His age is going to be an issue. But I think, you know, you can't snub your nose at Luis Suarez coming in for a season or two to Villa. Even the knowledge and the wherewithal and the attitude that he'll bring into our young strikers is probably second to none. But what do you guys think? Obviously, this is probably going to be one of the more controversial chopping block videos because I pretty much had everyone down as Dooby. I don't think I had a single untouchable player in there, just purely off of the attacking performances that we put in last season. You know, one of the best attacking performances that I think we put in was Everton, where Leon Bailey got the goal that everyone loved, and he pretty much got 2 goals, didn't he? Because it was an own goal, but he pretty much scored directly from the corner. And then you look at the other game, I can't remember who it was against, but it was Coutinho and Ramsey linking up and getting like 2 goals each. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't our strikers doing that for us, and that worries me. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I think it's something that Gerrard will know needs to be addressed, and I hope it will be addressed next season when we're pushing forward. But as always, guys, like the video, comment for your comment to be shouted out in the next video. I am one behind now because the Diego Carlos video was so last minute because it came out of the blue. But I will catch up, don't you worry, and subscribe with notifications on. Road to 1K. Let's go, baby. Up the Villa. Boom. I'm out.